Hello again, it's me, that guy with the YouTube channel, and you're probably wondering yourself, what Papa Biology, what's this with the spooky, scary skeletons, the shivers down your spine? Well, little child who talks weird, because it is October and I'm overly obsessed with Halloween, it's the best holiday, and for the month of October, I'm gonna change it up, and we're gonna be zany and weird. Kill me, please. And we're gonna be doing more horror-related stuff, or just kind of spooky stuff in general. Same for the reviews; they're gonna be more horror figure based. And maybe you'll even see the return of someone in that time. So yeah, and today we're gonna start the whole thing off by doing another fucking shameless re-review. So today we're gonna be re-reviewing the Daimond Select Universal Select Creature from the Black Lagoon, or Gillman as his mother calls him. Ignore that. There we go. So yeah, if you remember, I reviewed this figure originally October 31st, Halloween of last year, and it was a shitty review, and if you've seen it, I'm sorry. So anyways, let's get started with this gigantic fucking gargantuan box. There's a sticker right there. That's a sticker. It says Creature from the Black Lagoon, the Universal Seal. There's a spine to the box for some reason. And on the back, the prototype looks way better painted than the actual figure. I just destroyed the set. And there's the Son of Frankenstein figure. So starting out with detail, as you can see, even though the paint job, as I said, is nowhere near as good as it looks on the back of the box, it is a very good sculpt. This was sculpted by Jean St. Jean, who's currently doing the Creature Replica line, which is a very good line, and we will cover later this month. As you can see, the bottoms of his feet look good. I believe these are kind of made up by Daimond Select. I think there's a part in the movie where you see a footprint that's kind of like that. It's been a while since I've seen Creature from the Black Lagoon. I'll have to watch it later this month, as I always do. Paint job isn't as good as the bottom of the feet. Toenails look painted nicely. The feet overall look very good. There's a really teeny tiny little fifth toe there. So obviously he has webbed feet. The frills look nice, and there is kind of a glossy overcoat to this figure, but it's not quite applied back here on the lower part of his calf region. As you can see, the scale pattern of his body, which is very nicely done, as you can see, ends right there and goes into something else, because I believe these parts were separate on the actual suit that was used in the movie, and this would have been a really good place to conceal a calf swivel, but they didn't. No. Joints kind of break up the mold, but it is not that bad. As you can see, it's overall pretty nicely done. The underbelly is green. The original version was yellow. But this is not the original version, so it's green. I don't really know which one is accurate, but whatever. And as you can see, there's some highlighting in between the armor panels on his scales. And overall, it's very nice. You can see there's a concealed swivel, which would have been good down here. Anyways, and there's a fin there, which is supposed to continue over to this fin, but it doesn't. But there is just the vague hint of it continuing right here on the joint. And his hands are nicely done, but the palm detail isn't as good as it was on the original. You can see this kind of texture on his palms. It was on the original much better. So that's kind of weird. And as you can see, the head sculpt is kind of nice. Upper part of his lip is painted in a weird way. The eyes don't have a whole lot of character to them, but the suit in the movie really didn't. The gills, one complaint I have is his gills are flat and his mouth is open, but in the movie, when his mouth opens, his gills flare out. So maybe it would have been cool if he had the flaring out gills and the open mouth, but I'm okay with this. And you can see his head. This thing, I think this is a defect of mine. This thing is off-centered, but again, whatever. It doesn't really bother me. You're not always going to see that. And he's got a Y-shaped fin that goes down to his ass. So before we get on to articulation accessories, he does come with one. This base, which as you can see has a nice sort of a sort of ground texture to it. Let's focus on that a little better. As you can see, there's a kind of mustardy color and a red and a few greens dry brushed on. There's a skull with a crack in it. Take notes, there will be a quiz later. There's some ribs, bones. There's a piece of coral here, which is dry brushed pink, but it's translucent, so from the back it looks kind of weird. There's this gigantic rock. Again, like I said earlier, call me Captain Obvious. That was in a different review. There's a hole in the bottom of the rock. There's some more plants here, kind of like shrubs. They're translucent, but they're painted on both sides, although there are some spots where you can see through. And people say this is water here with the fishes in it, which the fish do look nice. But it's actually not, because there's a fold sculpted in there, and there's little bits of stuff in there. It's like seaweed, because seaweed is kind of see-through. Seaweed with fish in it. And yeah, if you turn the rock around, it is hollow, but there is detail sculpted back there. It's good, but if you've ever seen Creature from the Black Lagoon, you never see anything like this. This looks more like the bottom of the ocean, and, well, the actual underwater shots in Creature from the Black Lagoon just kind of look like a sandy area with some rocks in it. So, there's that for you. For articulation, his head is on a ball hinge, so it can look down a decent amount. Cannot look up. I tried cutting away just a little bit of this fin right here, and it still will not look up anymore, so he can't look up, which really sucks for swimming poses. It just swivels at the top part of the head, but I guess that's still kind of necessary. Shoulders are ball hinged, very smooth. I think some of the joints on this figure are a little over lubricated, because look how easy his arm pops off. Just like that. And goes right back on just as easy. Ball hinge shoulders anyways, up and down, in and out, swivel bicep. Ball hinged elbow, which means you still get a swivel, so why have a swivel elbow or ball hinged elbow? You can just do a normal hinge like that. But whatever, swivel at the bottom of the hand and a hinge. This whole joint system kind of messes up the sculpt of this fin, as I said. The original one does have the fin connecting, but you only get swivels at the hands. 2 ball joints in the waist, which go down. Again, they go down a good part, but not up that far. And I did cut away a little bit of these fins right here. And it does help, but he can't really look up a whole lot. So, can't really get him in good swimming poses, which is a shame, because that's his character's main trait. He swims. Hinges in the legs, which are kind of weird. And then swivels, which don't really go forward a whole lot. One goes more than the other, even. Swivel right here at the upper part of the thigh. Hinge in the lower, well, just a hinge in the knee. No swivel at the calf, which they really should have put in. And a hinge in the ankles, and a very pointless pivot. You can't really get it out that far. And even though you can't get him in a good swimming pose, if you take the base here, and I know a lot of people just put him on there like that, but it looks stupid. He's swimming in the same direction as the fish, and he's looking down at them, so it looks kind of weird. But if you just get his foot in the coral right, like about there, and rest his leg up against the rock here, you can actually get him in a good swimming pose, as you can see there. I display mine like that. So, I also forgot to mention, you can peg his feet onto this base. There's a peg right there, and the lighting isn't really good enough. There's a peg right there. I just need to point that out. Anyways, so for sizing, here he is with a human character, NECA Hero Ash. This is a 7-inch figure. This figure's roughly about 7 inches, and yeah, Gillman's a lot bigger. I'm pretty sure Daimond Select figures are larger scale 7-inch, and NECA's a smaller scale 7-inch figure, but yeah, it works with the Gillman because he's a monster inhuman thing, and he's taller and bleh. So for history of the figure and pricing, this figure was originally released in, I think, 2014, if I'm not mistaken. And he was about $20. I didn't check before this review, but I'm pretty sure you can still get him relatively easily for about $20 to $30, and I would say it is very much worth it. He does have his flaws, and there are some iffy paint apps, and I do know people have gotten mismatched pieces, but overall, it's a pretty good figure. I haven't gotten a whole lot of other Universal Select figures. Maybe I will this October to review. But overall, for a rating, I'll give him a 7. Nah, we'll give him a 9 out of 10 because he's a good figure. I'm too positive with ratings. Anyways, that's it for this review. Shimama Jamo. It means I accidentally ate the whole thing.